9 News Plus weather, sponsored by Carrier Colorado. The future of home comfort is here.
Hey, happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi with the detailed look at your Colorado weather forecast, which, if you look outside right now, it's cloudy here across most of the Denver area, but these clouds are going to lift in the next 2 to 3 hours or so. Meantime, southeast Colorado, a lot of wet weather for us out in the southeast part of the state. Pueblo, more rain in the last 24 hours than the last 8+ months combined. What a storm. And really here, folks, I've been saying it, and really not trying to spin things here. This to me is a good news storm. We got all the water we kind of needed here across eastern Colorado. I shouldn't say all, but we got a good chunk of the water that we needed with very little in the way of headaches. We underperformed in terms of snowfall in the foothills and the Palmer Divide. And folks, that is good news. You do not want any part of a 10-inch snowstorm this time of year. That tends to lead to down trees, down power lines, makes it a real mess. And we generally avoided, again, those kind of higher impacts from all this water, again, while we got all the relief from it as well. Meantime, I-70, this is a look at the Eisenhower Johnson tunnels, where things moving pretty smoothly right now. The snow has basically stopped for us in the higher terrain for now. We'll get some snow back into the picture tomorrow night in our higher elevations. And Denver, a lot of low clouds right now. Looks pretty ominous out there. These clouds will clear on up in the next 2 to 3 hours, as we're already starting to pull in some drier air. Our friends up in Fort Collins and Greeley probably already start to see some peaks of sunshine that'll be sliding southward as we get through the next couple of hours or so. So that rain and snow coming to a close today. Again, across most of the metro area, we're basically done with any last raindrops will come to a close in the next hour or so. I think it's just kind of cloudy at this point. Again, we'll see some peaks of sunshine early this afternoon. It is warmer tomorrow with more rain and snow very likely for tomorrow night and into your Friday morning. Winter weather advisory continues for southern Colorado, including Pueblo, although I think it's going to stay all rain for us in Pueblo at this point. Anything below 6,000 feet is probably to stay all rain, though Trinidad and the I-25 corridor, once you get to Walsenburg on south and Levada Pass on south, that's where we're seeing some of that heavier snowfall. But I mentioned this about Pueblo. Look at this. Last 24 hours, in fact, this number is now at 2 inches, a little over 2 inches of rain in Pueblo in the last 24 hours. That is more rain than the last 8 months combined there in Pueblo. And also worth noting, Pueblo gets about 12 inches of rain and melted snow equivalent precipitation in a year. So this is about 16-17% of what you typically get in a full calendar year. And the best news of this is because this rain was so spread out over the course of about 24 hours, we mostly dodged flooding issues. I'm sure there are some minor street flooding issues, some ponding on roadways, things like that. Some minor street flooding possible in some of these areas, but for the most part, really avoiding any sort of medium to higher end flood issues, but we're getting all the relief from it. So great news for southeast Colorado. I was taking a look at some of the rain totals. La Junta at about 1.3 inches worth of rainfall. Lamar, Springfield closing in on 1 inch. Again, this is some great news, a good dousing for the part of the state that really needs it the most. Now, once you get south of Walsenburg, as I was saying, Levada Pass on south here, Highway 160, that's where you're seeing some of that snowfall. Generally speaking, Highway 50 is the cutoff for the rain snow line at this point. But along and north of the Palmer Divide, again, we're over and done with the snow and the rain at this point. But again, along and south of Highway 50, that's where we're seeing some of that snow mixing on in. But for the most part, this continues to be just beneficial moisture. Worth noting because the sun is up. Remember, it is April the 26th. The sun angle is very high. We're less than 2 months away from the summer solstice. Any snow that falls is mostly just going to stick to colder surfaces if it does. In fact, it may actually snow in southern Colorado today, and any snow that we picked up overnight might still melt at the same time that it is actually snowing just because of that high April sun angle. Worth noting. Meantime, as we head through the rest of the day today, the rain will continue to push south and east. Notice Denver by early this afternoon, I think we're seeing peaks of sunshine coming on out here across most of the metro area. In fact, it could be fully sunny by about 2-3 o'clock across the metro area. We're going to get a pretty good pull of dry air from the north. So I think we're going to go from these kind of low hanging clouds right now to full-on sunshine, probably about 2 or 3 hours or so. Not even just peaks of sunshine. I think we're talking about full-on sunny skies here in the next couple of hours. at this point. Also for southeast Colorado, that rain will hold on most of the day today. Notice by about 6, 7 o'clock, still seeing some of those showers into Lamar, Springfield, Sabaca, Prowers counties. You will hold on to the rain the longest, but we'll even see some peaks of sun down to Pueblo and Colorado Springs come 6, 7 o'clock or so this afternoon and this evening. Additional rainfall to go, maybe another ½ inch for our friends in far southeastern Colorado, and another 1/10 or so of an inch for Colorado Springs, Pueblo, and Trinidad. Denver area, we're done with the rain and measurable rainfall at this point. Snowfall, this is coming from mostly our system tomorrow night, where we could get a fair few inches of snow into the high country later on tomorrow and early on your Friday morning. From there over to temperatures, worth noting our average high for today, 63 degrees. So we're talking about a current temperature of 44. That is pretty darn chilly for April the 26th, no doubt about that, into the high country, mostly in the 30s and 40s. How about that? Leadville right now, almost as warm as Denver, despite the fact that Leadville, of course, double the elevation of Denver. Kremling, normally one of the cold spots in the state, there in the Colorado River Basin. 48 degrees right now there in Kremling, 44 in Denver because of those low clouds. Today we'll spike those temperatures on up. We'll get into the mid-50s here in town once that sun does come on out. Again, rain and snow is over and done with at this point. The sun will come out in the next 2 to 3 hours tonight. Any last bit of clearing that we need to do will be taken care of this evening, and temperatures drop down to around freezing. This is about seasonal for this time of year. By the way, notice that sunset 7:48. We're only a couple weeks away from our first 8 p.m. or later sunset of the year. So that is something to look forward to. Tomorrow, temperatures upper 60s for us. Clouds increase during the afternoon. Winds will be on the light side, but the thing to watch for tomorrow will be more into the afternoon and early evening. That's when our next storm system rolls on in, and that'll bring us some rain and some snow for the eastern plains. Most of us, this is about seasonable levels, maybe a little bit above average with those highs in the 60s and low 70s. And because of all this rain, I don't have to tell you, there's zero fire risk for tomorrow because of all this beneficial moisture. And by the way, this kind of deep soaking rain that we're talking about right now, this is going to have benefits for not just a couple days. It'll probably last a couple weeks, because that will get into the ground and it'll keep the soils fairly moist for a couple weeks or so. So again, a very beneficial storm that we're seeing right now, and we'll feel the benefits of that hopefully for a couple of weeks or so. And we're also going to kind of reinforce that a little bit tomorrow night into your Friday morning, thanks to a band of rain that's going to move its way on through. And that rain will flip over to snow, it looks like, briefly for tomorrow night and Friday morning, with little or no accumulation in Denver, but the foothills and the Palmer Divide, that's where you could get a slushy 1 to 3 inches or so of accumulation. Rainfall forecast, maybe another 1/4 to ½ inch of rain. Hey, we'll take it for us here along the Front Range from this next storm system. And then snowfall, additional 1 to 3, maybe 2 to 4 inches for the foothills and the Palmer Divide. We'll have to see how this shakes out, but for the Denver area, I think it's going to be a bit too warm, especially with those temperatures near 70 tomorrow, for us to be talking about much in the way of accumulation here in town. 7-day forecast, temps on the cool side for Friday because of that early cloud cover. Then we'll be looking at a beautiful weekend, highs around 70 both days, lots of sunshine, and then afternoon showers and storms as we look ahead to next week. And by the way, we turn the calendar, of course, from April to May next week, and right on schedule. We're going to start to see those afternoon shower and storm chances. Normally, we think about the first week of May as the start of severe weather season for us here in Colorado, and right on cue, we'll be talking about those showers and storms kicking back up for the early to mid part of next week. And one final note, I mentioned all that rain that we've seen. Pueblo with those 2+ inches worth of rainfall out there. La Junta about 1.5 inches of rainfall. And just think about, look at this drought monitor map and see where the worst of the drought is and where we got the majority of the rain. Folks, again, this is just excellent news. There is no other way to put it. This is just wonderful news. We avoided the higher end. We really didn't have to deal with much in the way of flooding. Again, maybe minimal street flooding, not a big snowstorm for us in the foothills compared to what, honestly, especially on Monday, I was kind of worried about the fact we could be talking about 12 to 18 inches of snow for a place like Evergreen, Conifer, Bailey, and it looks like we're topping out around 8-9 inches or so in those locations. That's good news. You do not want any part of a 10-inch snowstorm this time of year. It tends to lead to a lot of mess. So again, we got all the water with minimal headache. That is Wonderful news, and happy to report that hopefully, knock on wood, that continues as we're wrapping up with this storm. Again, a bit more rain tomorrow night, flipping over to snow for us across the metro area. Not as impactful as this past storm system, but we'll take the additional moisture as we've got a bit more yet to go for tomorrow night and through your Friday morning. I'll have another update for you coming up at 9 News at noon, and also at 2 p.m. right here on 9 News Plus. And then Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabins in at 4 and 5. And then Meteorologist Danielle Grant will have updates for you at 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News family of networks. Once again, Meteorologist Chris Bianchi, thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. Enjoy the cloudy weather while we've got it. I love this weather, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.